start with Kirsten on the left.
Dave, when you look at just what you saw from Jack Flaherty in Game 2 of the DS, what are you hoping to see from him in this Game 1 start? Are there any adjustments you're kind of looking to see from him in this matchup against the Mets?
I thought there was a lot of good things from Jack last series. I thought the command was better. I think more of the same. I think just to see him take down some more hitters. He's going to compete. I think he's going to mix and match his sequencing, use his fastball when he needs to, keep him honest manage the game, navigate the lineup. But I think that, he's built, I just feel he's built for moments like this. I think the pulse, the stuff, and I really feel a good one out of Jack tonight.
We'll go to Jack, fourth row on the left.
When you switch from one series to the next this quick, did you spend more hours in the last 24 in meetings or sleeping?
Combo, certainly a combo. It's one of those things that you relish the idea of not sleeping a whole bunch because you have an opportunity to continue to play on. But I'm fortunate that I've got a great group of people around me as far as on the pitching, run prevention side, the hitting side. The front office is grinding to kind of make sure everyone's on the same page. So I do make sure I get my rest, though.
Does this feel similar to 21 when you guys went from the Giants series to Atlanta? Like, obviously, the travel component's out of it, but is there anything you learned from that experience that kind of applies to this week?
That's a fair question. I think that with all things, you learn from past experiences, and I think the takeaway is you can't let down your guard or get off the gas. It was an exhausting series going back to 21 to kind of beat the Giants and then to get on and play on against the Braves. And so I don't really know where our headspace was at that point in time, but I do know that we've got to push on and keep the momentum, play with that same urgency and not get caught up in it's a 7-game series. Like, that just can't happen. So I think that that's one thing that we're very mindful of.
Go to Bill, third row in the middle.
Yeah, Dave, Walker Buehler has not been in today, so I take that as a sign he's not pitching until Game 3, and tomorrow will be a bullpen game. Am I wrong?
Well, that's a good thought. That is a possibility. I think for us is honestly, we're trying to figure out the best way to win tonight, and I do feel that after tonight, it will open things up as far as Game 2 and Game 3. If tonight ends up being an exhaustive bullpen game, then that could change things. If it goes the way we expect, then maybe your thought comes to pass. So we'll see.
And how difficult were the roster decisions with Miguel and Vesia?
Vesia was pretty easy. We just didn't feel it was even a possibility for Alex to pitch this series. I think he's still in play if we are fortunate enough to get to the World Series. With Miggy, it was tougher. I think in the sense of he's obviously a huge part of our ball club. He's playable, but I think we just as an organization felt that what he brings to the table as far as elite shortstop defense, we just feel right now physically he's a little bit more compromised, that can't be brought to the table. And so with Freddie's kind of where he's at physically, with potentially making a move in the outfield, in left field with a lead, you just kind of have to have pieces that you can kind of mix and match. And so we just feel that a few more days and another week would get Miggy back to being who he is.
Stay in the middle, about 5 rows back.
Hey, Skip, how you doing? A comparison to the other seasons that you guys basically are in the postseason and World Series or the edge of the World Series. Now you count with a weapon called Shohei Ohtani. His first postseason. What has he contributed to the clubhouse on this run on the postseason? And if I could please ask you, in behalf of my viewership, your thoughts about Fernando Valenzuela, who's ill right now, and he was a broadcaster for the Dodgers for many years, a legend. What is the Is he your prayers and your thoughts? Just a few words, if you wouldn't mind. I'd really appreciate about that too.
Well, Fernando, I don't know his status right now. I do know he's ill and going through some things physically. He is in all of our thoughts and prayers. He's a friend of mine. I've kind of stood down, letting the family kind of handle this situation. But I just pray that we get him back healthy and back in the booth, and we think about him often. As far as Shohei on the playoff run, I just think he's brought another level of excitement, I think, for everyone in sports, particularly in baseball. I thought the Padres did a really nice job in containing him, but I still think that he's the best player on the field at any particular time when he's taking at bats. And so I think for me, it's, he's just got to kind of get back into the hitting zone, and if he does that, then it bodes really well for the Dodgers.
Go to Fabian, third row.
Just the daily how's Freddy's doing question.
Just saw him briefly. He had a smile on his face, hobbling around a little bit, but I just think that it is what it is, and it's better than yesterday. It's better than it was a couple days ago. So, our expectation is he starts, takes 4 at-bats or 5 at-bats, and, we win a ball game. But I'm expecting him to start and finish the game. But if we have to defensive replace, we will.
Especially with the way the series is structured and the fact that you might have to play 3 games in 3 days, is it going to be something where we have to kind of manage him playing back-to-back days, or especially tomorrow being a day game? Is that something you're going to be extra mindful of?
We're mindful of it, but I think my message to him was, let's just get through today. And then once we get through today, we'll just kind of pick up the pieces, see where he's at. But yeah, that's definitely thoughtful. Yeah, we're thinking about that too.
Go back to Jack on the left.
Have you seen a player play with his ankle taped up the way Freddie had it the other night like that?
Not in this sport. Maybe on the gridiron. So he was spatted up. So no, I haven't.
Go to Tim here in the second row.
With Senga expected to go short, followed by potentially any number of guys, including maybe a lefty and Peterson, how does that complicate what you guys are trying to do personnel and lineup-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the way we can put together the lineup, there's a lot of thought in, Peterson and some of the righties and things like that, McGill. I do think that it's constructed in a way that we can protect guys, make those guys pay a tax to get to certain guys. So, yeah, I mean, it's all predicated on how far he goes, but, probably the expectation is 3 and 45, and we'll see.
Go to Eric on the right side.
Dave, with Rojas out, does that mean Edman's going to get the majority of the time at short, or all the time at short?
He will get all the time at short.
And then you guys, he mentioned it, but you're facing left-handed starters for the first time. Didn't face any last round. Do you anticipate any sort of maneuvering regarding that in the next few days?
Yeah, I think obviously with the left-handed start, I think Pages is going to be in play. So we'll see. I mean, Manea starting tomorrow. Gavin probably won't be in there, and then we'll kind of go from there. And obviously we got to talk through the Freddie thing too.
Come to Barry in the front.
Hey, Doc. So you were talking about the 21 series, and you had a lot of challenges going into the Braves because there were a lot of injuries that piled up in that series, including Scherzer, which was a big problem. But overall, would you say this season, because of the constant moving parts and the pitching injuries, that this has been your most challenging season? And then when I asked Freeman about it, he just said you've done a great job this season.
Yeah, it's been, for me personally, it's been my most challenging season. Obviously with the injuries and kind of introducing a lot of young players in critical roles is always kind of tough. And I think you're in a position where you just have to trust and run guys out there in spots that you don't normally feel good about, and keeping kind of this whole machine moving forward in a good, positive direction. But it speaks to kind of the players that we have. We got a lot of good players and buying into each other, and I think we've heard all the stuff of the watch parties, the bus rides, and flying separately. And these guys are kind of really galvanizing. It's fun for me in my chair to see that too.
So when you put together a bullpen game like you did in Game 4, how much of that is scripted beforehand? How much do you basically use your own gut to make decisions on things? Is it a combination of things?
I think it's a combination of things. I think that in that particular case, you have X amount of guys that you really want to use in a elimination game. That's kind of how I look at things, and then you kind of try to figure out where's best for those guys to line up. But yeah, you have to be able to. There were some spots you got to figure out if you want to see if this guy can get through this to get to the next guy, and so there's some breaking points. But in totality, I have an idea of what I'd like to do, but it always doesn't play out as such.
Yeah, like Bessie the other night.
Correct.
We'll finish up a shy on the right, second row.
Dave, you just mentioned the challenges you face this season. During the off-season, spring training, how much contingency planning would you be doing from a roster perspective? If this guy goes down, we'll do this. And maybe how deep are you or beyond some of the contingency planning you might have had coming into this year?
We're beyond. We've tapped into our depth. Goodness, you look at the roster right now, and you look at certainly on the pitching side. There's 3 or 4 guys that I didn't know if they were going to get Major League service this year, and so they're on a postseason roster in the CS. That is a lot on the front office. Thankfully, that I get some reprieve and a break, and they just their biggest thing is trying to plan for the unforeseen and have depth and be able to kind of have young players kind of continue to emerge. So the machine keeps going and doesn't kind of take a step back. And we've needed every bit of it. So this has been a tough one. But getting a guy like Teo who posts, and Tom Yedna at the deadline, and Kopech, those 2 additions in themselves have been really instrumental so far, this season.
All right, Dave, thanks. We'll see
All
you
right,
next game.
thanks, guys.